digital arena, on the app, on your smartphone, on X, YouTube, and Facebook. The Sportscast. Expect the unexpected.
The update presented by the Sportscast.
McIlroy has his masterpiece.
Been holding that reaction in since 2014.
He's there to console his friend who he admires so much.
Rory McIlroy winning the Grand Slam after winning the Masters. Welcome to the Sportscast, April 14th, 2025. If you haven't yet, please subscribe in all our channels, YouTube, Facebook, X, and Apple Podcasts. You can also listen to us on your smart speaker. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave a rating and a review. It will help us out tremendously. We're also on online radio, and you can visit the Sportscast website, thesportscast.net, also on X at the Sportscast1, IG, the Sportscast1, and check out our app, the Sportscast for iOS. A lot going on in golf, but also in the NBA. Suns getting rid of the coach, Mike Budenholzer, but we got Hal Phillips to rehash with us on golf, NBA, and some Champions League. Welcome back, Hal.
Always a pleasure, Santi, to be with you. And wow, the Masters just comes at a perfect time. It was sort of a lull yesterday, and it really captured the imagination, and including a massive demographic broadcast share. I was at the pool just now, and a couple guys were talking in the locker room about the Masters, and it became clear they weren't big golfers, but it was on, and it was dramatic, and they loved it.
Yeah, quite something. Rory McIlroy has never won this tournament before. He was going head-to-head with Justin Rose, who was kind of leading towards the end. We thought he was going to win, but Rory came through. What are your thoughts over that?
Well, this is the career Grand Slam. So the U.S. Open, British Open, PGA Championship, and the Masters. Those are the four majors. And Rory McIlroy is a phenom from a young age. He won the first three legs of that by the time he was, I think, 27 or 8 years old. I think he's 37 now. And since 2014, he's been trying to win the Masters to complete this thing. And he's come very close, or rather, he's come very close until about the 10th hole on the back nine. And he has thrown up on himself a couple times and blown Masters, and just not played very well at this venue since then. And a lot of people in the golf business, and I do work in the golf business, thought that, his only chance to win this tournament was to run away with it, because every time he's been close to win any major in the last 10 years, he has sort of kicked it away because he's just not very good under pressure. But we can see why that reputation is in place. He did some astonishingly crazy things. Missed 3-footers and hit the ball into ponds and creeks, with his wedge, and tried to give this thing away, but he outlasted his opponent. It was incredibly dramatic and fun. And I think one of the reasons everyone, including these two guys in the locker room, were so impressed was it was just a raw display of emotion. And that always translates well.
It's interesting. I think this is the first time it was pretty much locked up towards the end. Is that what you've known historically? Because Rose was at it, he was head to head with him, but was this one of the first times you see that with the Masters?
Well, no, it was in the balance the whole time. I mean, I actually was was at a party all afternoon, and I DVR'd it, and I had to be very careful about,
You told me not to tell you.
Yes, I just sent a couple of texts out, like no spoilers. So I watched it all on the DVR, and it was incredibly tense. And he was way out in front, and then came back to the field, and then went way out in front again, and came back to the field, and it looked like he had really just given it away at the end because Rose closed really strong, and all he had to do was par the 18th hole to win the tournament, and had a wedge in his hand from 120 yards, put it in the bunker. I mean, just missed the entire target by 30 feet and couldn't get up and down. Playoff, and he birdies the hole and wins the tournament. And maybe people will never forget that, but he played the U.S. Open last summer under the same sort of pressure and just wilted. Just couldn't make a putt when he had to. DeChambeau beat him, and DeChambeau was in the final group with him today or yesterday, and he fell away. And it was just an up and down and fabulous advertisement for golf on television. It was just really dramatic, beautiful spring scenes, which up in the Northeast we love to see. It means spring is coming. It was really a perfect Masters Sunday.
Yeah, it was quite something. He was crying during his post interview. He was very emotional. This one tournament he couldn't get. He's about 37 years old, which is still young in golf, pretty much. But he made it. Would you say this tournament is the most prestigious, like the Wimbledon to tennis?
What makes the four majors really good is that they're all really different. The Masters is the first tournament of the year, the first major tournament. It's this signal of spring, and it's entirely invitational. It's run by these rich guys down in Georgia. They do things their own way. And did you see the ceremony in Butler Cabin afterwards? It's this weird theatrical, do where, Scotty Scheffler, the last year's champion, sits there like he's in a hot.
It's a very awkward room.
It is. It's like paternalism writ large. And Rory doesn't look comfortable. He doesn't look happy. He looks just
what like do? Sit down
in a hostage video. It's really weird. Jim Nantz is there trying to make everybody.
It's his last tournament he'll broadcast.
Is that true? I keep hearing that, and then he keeps coming back. I
hope he comes back.
I think the U.S. Open is the hardest tournament to win. I think that the British Open is the best tournament because it's an international field that on a links course where anything can happen. So if I had to rank them, that would be it. But the Masters is a very special thing, and the golf course, and I think this is why we love it. The golf course is it's the only major that's played on the same golf course every year. So I know that golf course backward and forward. These guys in the locker room at the pool, they know that golf course. They've seen it before. They know all the nuances. You just don't have that at Royal Birkdale, which you might see once every 20 years if you didn't miss one, and then you don't see it for 40 years. It's a totally different experience watching it on TV. Everyone understands this place and knows it in an intimate way. So it's really fun. And the guy, it's a weird tournament because of these guys who run the place. And it's a very leak-proof organization, and they run it like a private club. And if you don't want to do what they want to do, you're gone. And CBS just basically does whatever they tell them to do during the broadcast. So it's a different sort of broadcast than you would normally see. I don't know. It was great fun, and it often delivers something like this. But I would say it delivers a Sunday as consistently as any tournament in golf. It's great.
Yeah, like no other.
Like no other.
Although like the Masters throughout the weekend, and it's really exciting. Really, yeah, like you were saying, it's a very tight ship they run there.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see what happens with Jim Nantz. I'm not sure he's coming back. Hal says he could, but we'll find out. Breaking news about an hour ago: the Phoenix Suns have fired head coach Mike Budenholzer after just one season. Sources told ESPN the Suns were very disappointed for this campaign with Coach Bud. Did not make the play-in. They finished at 36 wins to 46 L's and missing the playoffs and the play-in. This team was loaded with talent, but could not make it. Even with a good coach, I thought.
And I think he is a good coach. There were problems here in the way the team was constructed. They had 3 stars, but one of those stars is Bradley Beal, who only played about 2/3 of the season. Which is the most he's played in a long time. I know this because I had him on my fantasy team. I wasted $7 on the guy. He's just not an elite player anymore. And Booker, while elite, didn't get along with the two of them. Durant apparently doesn't get along with anybody anymore. Every time the season ends, there's recriminations and coaches get fired and he demands a trade. I really like Kevin Durant. He's very articulate and obviously understands the game and loves it on some level, but he just leaves a trail of despair and destruction in his wake. And the Suns are just another example. I mean, that team is screwed. They have spent all their money. They have no cap space. They've got Durant's contract and Bradley Beal's contract, which no one will take. So aside from the competitive aspect, they really can't maneuver. They can't improve this team. No one's going to take those contracts off anyone's hand unless Durant decides to like forfeit money. And why would you do that? But Budenholzer was dropped into this situation. I thought they would do better. I think most people thought they would win 50 games just on the basis of these three guys alone and a decent supporting cast. Didn't happen. The team that beat them out for that last playoff spot was, of course, the Dallas Mavericks, who traded away Luka Doncic and lost Kyrie Irving to injury a month ago. They still beat the Suns. That's how bad the Suns played. They couldn't beat the Mavericks, who finished 40-42 or something like that. And I give the Mavericks credit for not folding up. They're in the play-in, and the Suns aren't, and that's as about as damning as you could be.
Yeah, quite something with the whole trade with Luka to LA and like the Mavericks getting AD.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it did work out, you could say, but not well.
I give the Mavericks credit for not quitting, and I give the Mavericks credit for and AD credit for coming back. And everyone thought when he went down that first game back, or that first game with the Dallas Mavericks after the trade, he hurt himself. He's always been injury prone. Everyone thought he would just pack it in for the season. He did not. He came back. They played hard. They developed some young players because all these other guys are out. They lost their two centers that allowed AD to play forward for this team, which is part of the plan. Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. They both got hurt, but they're both back. And they're going to be a tough out. They play hard, but they don't have Kyrie. They don't have the scoring that they need. Spencer Dinwiddie is a pretty poor man's replacement for Kyrie Irving. But that should be an interesting play-in matchup. They get the Kings. I bet they beat the Kings. The Kings are an interesting team, but they're banged up now. They've lost Malik Monk. And they've really struggled down the stretch. Sabonis got hurt. I would pick the Mavericks to win that game, but I guess that then they would play the loser. They would play the loser of the Golden State Minnesota game or Grizzlies game, and I don't think they could beat them.
Let's go rehash a little bit what happened earlier about a week or 2 weeks ago. Nuggets getting rid of their head coach as well, Mike Malone. What are your thoughts over that? I mean, it was towards the end of the season. They also got rid of their GM, but do you think that's a little bit off guard here? Or?
Well, I think two things happen. I mean, the West is really in complete disarray, except for Oklahoma City, and you could argue the Clippers. Everything else is up in the air. The Rockets sputtered. They're the number 2 seed. The Grizzlies fired their coach, and they plummeted all the way into the play-in game. They're playing Golden State. But yes, the Denver fired Coach Mike Malone, who won a championship for them 2 years ago, and Calvin Booth, the GM, who really is part of the team that a lot of people acknowledge is the best sort of talent scouting organization in the NBA. There's 30 players that the Nuggets have picked in the last 10 years that are spread around the NBA, because they can't play them all. They're really good at finding young guys. I've read that Malone, in spite of the fact that he keeps being handed really good young players, doesn't play them enough, doesn't play them as often or enough to get them into the mix that ownership and Calvin Booth would like. But when you win an NBA championship, you get your way. That is, until you get fired. So that team's in disarray. And the Golden State Warriors lost to the Clippers last night, and they fall into the play-in game. They're a veteran team that desperately needs 5 or 6 days off. They don't get it. Now they have to play the Grizzlies, and if they don't win, they'll have to play another game. So this is exactly what they don't need. So the West is really in massive disarray, except for OKC, which is the clear number 1 seed and top dog in the West. But I've been saying it all year. The Clippers with Kawhi, if he's healthy and he's played the last 5 weeks, 35 minutes a night, looks pretty healthy to me. That's the second best team in the West. So I'm not surprised that they beat the Warriors last night or yesterday to sew up their spot and send the Warriors into the play-in bracket. That's a very deep, versatile, can play big, can play small team. And Tyronn Lue is a really good coach. And everyone's going to complain about Harden and say, oh, we can't win the big game. I feel completely opposite about Harden. I've watched this guy for 15 years now. Yeah, he likes the ball in his hands. Yeah, he tends to hold it and not distribute it as well as he might. And yeah, he apparently has a weak spot for strip clubs. I don't care. Every team he's on, he does what they need. If they need scoring, he does it. If they need him to just get 12 assists a night, he does it. If you need to play along with a guy named Kawhi and take the back seat and give Kawhi a chance to be the man, he does it. He's made Zubats into a tremendous center. I don't think that there's more than 2 or 3 centers in the league who are better than Ivana Zubats, the Slovenian. He's like 20 and 13 the last half of the season. And again, when you play with Harden, you're just going to get dunk after dunk after dunk. I really like them, and I'd love to see them play OKC. I think they may run into them before the final in the West. I'd have to look at the bracket. What do you got there?
There is the bracket. You were saying which team exactly you were saying again?
I was wondering where the Nuggets were the Clippers.
So Nuggets will play Clippers in the first round of playoffs.
Yeah, that second round matchup is going to be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, with
Clippers
OKC
Nuggets in the first round. Oh my God.
That should be interesting. No, just an interim coach versus the hot Clippers. They just beat the Warriors yesterday, as Hal said. But let's look at the bracket for the West. Yeah. Kings and Mavericks. You got the Mavs. Kings are a little bit battered up, but you're saying Mavericks could potentially go. But so you see there, that's the play-in. If Mavs win, they still have to play another game in the play-in. They'll play the winner between the Warriors. No, the loser between the Warriors and the Grizzlies. Who you got there?
I like the Warriors to beat the Grizzlies. So that would put the Warriors into the bracket with the Rockets, 7-2. That's a great series. And then I guess I like the Grizzlies over the Mavericks. And then Grizzlies Thunder is sort of fun. But I think the Thunder are the class of that bracket. But we're looking at out west, if that follows form, 3 excellent series. Nuggets, Clippers, Lakers, Timberwolves, Rockets, Warriors. You can't ask for anything more from a first round series than those 3. And if I had to pick one team to pick against, to go up against the Thunder as a complete wild card, it would be the Grizzlies with a healthy John Morant and a brand new coach. Who the hell knows what they're going to do? In the East, I think you have 2 good series potentially coming out of the play-in bracket, and that's not terrible. That's not bad, but it's not as good as the West.
Yeah, definitely. West is heavy throughout, not top heavy. It's heavy throughout. Mm-hmm. Who do you have between Los Angeles and Minnesota? Ant-Man's doing well. Lakers are hot. They're one of the championship contenders. But who do you have with this series? This could be the best series in the first round, maybe.
I agree. I think it's a total pick 'em, just like I think the Nuggets Clippers is pick 'em, and I frankly pick the Clippers. I sort of think I've been defending the Timberwolves all year. I sort of think the Timberwolves are a better team than people are giving them credit for. Everyone's picking on Julius Randle for changing that team. I think in the long run, he's changed them for the better. They're more offensively diverse and capable. Him on the wing just gives them a completely different look. And Conley, who's as old as Methuselah, actually played very well down the stretch. And if he is healthy and can run that team, I think they're going to be a difficult out. I sort of think they're going to beat the Lakers. I think the Lakers are, 2 great guys, one of whom is 40, and a bunch of pieces that are pretty good. And I think the Timberwolves are going to remember that they are a playoff team, and I'll take the Timberwolves in that one.
Anthony Edwards, MVP for a regular season?
No. It's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
SGC, there you have it. Okay, so we got that covered. Let's go to the East. Bulls versus the Heat. Heat, no matter what they did against the Wizards, they were going to go play against the Bulls. Who you have in that game?
I'm taking the Bulls. The Heat are so disinterested. And do you want to talk about Coach Eric Spoelstra and the internal strife going on with that team because one of his players, Jaime Jaquez, is dating his ex-wife?
I heard something about that. Please elaborate.
I can't either. It's just the juiciest gossip I've heard all year. I'm not in Miami.
It's Miami gossip. That's why.
I'll leave you out of it. You've got some peeps down there in South Beach, and you don't want to, you don't want to say anything on tour, but I can. What a story that is! Unbelievable. The Heat are dead men walking. They're done. They're disinterested. They're tired. Spoelstra is obviously annoyed with this group. They can't wait for the season to be over. So I'd be shocked if they beat the Bulls. I think they want to go home.
Magic and Hawks. Magic with no Blanchero. Hawks is doing well with Trae Young these past couple of weeks. Your thoughts over that game?
Is Blanchero out again?
I think he's out for the season.
No, you're thinking about Franz Wagner.
Wagner, yeah, my bad. Go ahead.
Wagner is out, yeah, and that hurts them. But I think they'll beat the Hawks. The one thing about the Mavericks is they play really good defense. They've always done that. They've had some terrible injuries. They're not a great team, really, but I think they're better than the Hawks. The one thing about the Hawks is that they score the ball, and if they make a bunch of shots, I'm not sure that the Magic can keep up. That's sort of an interesting game. That's way more interesting than Bulls and Heat, but it doesn't really matter because even the team that wins this first play-in match of Magic and Hawks, they get the Cavaliers. I don't think they can play. Well, actually, the team that wins gets the Celtics.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And the team that loses has to beat the Bulls or the Heat in order to play the Cavaliers. Again, congratulations.
But which would be a better matchup for your team, Boston? You think?
Sorry?
Which team would be a good matchup for the Boston Celtics?
Probably the Magic.
Easier series.
Probably the Magic. I don't think it makes a difference, honestly. I think the Cavaliers and the Celtics are way better than all those teams. I think they're the class of the East entirely. Myself, I think the Knicks are interesting, and I think they match up pretty well with the Celtics. The Cavaliers aren't afraid of them, and the Bucks, complete wild card. Have no idea what they are going to do. They could lose to the Pacers in this first round. They could actually beat the Pacers and then beat the Cavaliers because the Cavaliers haven't really beaten anyone when it matters. Who knows? Wow. But at least, in the second round, I think we're going to get some very good basketball in the East. In the first round, the 3-4 and 6-3 matchups are interesting. I have a good friend, my fantasy basketball partner, Jammin, has been saying for 2 months that the Pistons are going to beat the Knicks in this first round. So you heard it here first.
That's one team I see like, wow, Detroit is in the playoffs. I like it's just like 1989. I mean,
no, it's not that long, but last year this team was 4-37 to start the season.
I remember
4-37, and you see there they won 44 games. It is a good young team with a legitimate superstar, Cade Cunningham, and a lot of pieces. Jalen Duren is a big bad center. And Malik Beasley might be your sixth man of the year. They're a good team. And I wouldn't be surprised if they beat the Knicks. We'll see.
Yeah, and you're right. Pistons did win in 2004. They beat the Lakers.
Yes.
So there you have it. But who is a stronger number one, the Cavs or OKC?
It's the Thunder. And, I watched the Thunder play 2 or 3 times the last month of the season. And one of the times was when they came was when they played the Celtics. And that was a really interesting game to watch. And my takeaway was they're incredibly aggressive defensively. And by that, I mean, they grab and scratch and claw like a hungry team fighting for their existence, not like a number one seed in the West. I've never seen a team that good fight for rebounds every single time up and down the floor. And honestly, they foul people like crazy. You're going to hear a lot about this. If the Warriors, for example, get into a series with the Thunder, you're going to hear Steve Kerr talking about how often, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is one of these James Harden type players who stops and slows down and draws fouls in a ridiculous way, a really unnatural basketball way. There's that. But every single rebound, they're grabbing at you and hacking you. They're just hacking. And they don't get called for it because they're 68 wins. And however, did they finish with 68?
68 wins.
That's a lot.
More 10 losses. They couldn't reach that Bulls record. Or
exactly.
The Warriors record.
Look, they're very good. I don't want to take away from them. And a team that with 68 wins doesn't always play defense so hard. So they're to be congratulated on that. But they do it in a very, very strange way. They really just foul you all the time and dare the referees to call it. And because they're the best team in the NBA by many counts, they get calls that they probably shouldn't. I mean, and not like fancy fouls. These are just like pulling down a rebound, and then some guy hacks you under the basket, and they take it away, and there's no call. I mean, it was really funny to see the Celtics playing at home, and they're looking at the refs. They're like, can you please call the hack? I mean, this is like junior high school foul, and they're not calling it, and you just have to suck it up and play. So difficult team to play against, but you're going to hear a lot about this during the playoffs. Mark my words. Other coaches are going to start lobbying publicly against this style of play because they think it's wrong, number one. And number two, it's their only chance to beat those guys is to get some calls.
There you have it. Play-in begins tomorrow. It'll conclude till Friday. So once the weekend starts, we'll see the first round of the playoffs. Pretty exciting. Do you like the play-in, or you think that should be cut out and go back to the old style?
I think it's fine. I think it does lend meaning to the end of the season, but in a way that sort of skirts the larger issue, which is the season's about 10 to 12 games too long, and they really should start the season around Christmas and just play from there through and maybe go a little bit longer. We've talked about this, everything in America is about avoiding the NFL. And if you start the season over Christmas, that's already seen as a basketball day. That's your start of the season. You endure a month of football, and then you have the field to yourself. And I think they should do that and drop the number of games. The problem is, will the players take, 18% less money or 15% less money for playing 15% less games? They seem to want that because they claim that their bodies are being destroyed, but they're not willing to give up any money. So we'll see. I don't mind.
We'll see what happens. I know that the commissioner is talking about to make the games much harder. So we'll see what happens there. But let's move on to Soccer Champions League. Quarterfinals concludes this week. Sad enough. Let's predict this game. PSG is Aston Villa. PSG is up 3-1 in aggregate. How can Aston Villa come back and beat PSG?
That was a great game. That may have been the best game of the opening of the quarterfinals so far. And Villa played very well. They took the lead in that game and gave up a goal with about 10 minutes left. And PSG is playing at home, and they were very, very good. They scored 2 amazing goals. And then, unfortunately for Villa, they gave up a third goal in the last, in added extra time. So it was unfortunate. 3-1 will be difficult to overcome, but they are at home. And if they get a goal early, I think that's going to be a really interesting matchup. But PSG looks great.
They look good.
It's
without Mbappe.
Without him, well, wait, but that Mbappe is on Real Madrid. But Mbappe is suspended, I believe, for the La Liga, the next La Liga game.
Like he got like our version of like a technical foul or something.
Yeah. Let's come back to that. But so Villa, I don't think will be able to hold off PSG at home, and Barcelona and Dortmund. That tie is over. They're going back to Dortmund, and no way Dortmund is able to score 4 against Barcelona. So I will say those are finished. The other bracket,
Gio Reyna redemption, huh?
Sorry?
There will be no Gio Reyna redemption game.
No, in fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Dortmund has already told him, and what is it, April 14 is my wife's birthday today.
Birthday. What's your wife?
April 14, and Dortmund has already told Reyna that he can start looking around for a new club.
Unbelievable.
So here's another coach that apparently is not impressed with Claudio Reyna to the point where they're not even going to have him a contract. So, yeah. We may see him, though, because that game doesn't matter.
One team that's interested, Inter Milan, they're going to face Bayern Munich. They're up 2-1 in aggregate. This game is back in Milan. Who's going to take that series?
That is Inter Milan, not AC Milan. And I sort of think Bayern is going to make this a really fun tie, because I think Bayern is a clutch team that will come back and score the first goal, in which case we're on 2-2 I can't keep straight. Are they doing away goals in this tournament?
No way goes. Straight
That's
up.
what I thought. It's
goals,
so that levels the tie. That's a very close match because those teams are well matched. Inter did very, very well to win 2-1 in Munich, but that's worth watching. Unfortunately, I'm not, I don't have Paramount Plus, so I'm getting one game, and I believe I'm almost positive the one game that I'm going to get this week from this bracket, this side of the bracket, is Real Madrid and Arsenal. And
match of the week, apparently.
I'm telling you right now, Madrid is going to come back and score 3 goals against Arsenal. I know
think they could.
Yeah,
I think
they're going to.
I mean, they have the potential.
They're going to. And if Arsenal is brave and plays on the counter against them, they'll score themselves and they'll win the tie. If they try to pack it in against Madrid, they're screwed. They will lose. So I hope they're brave. Actually, I don't hope they're brave because I'm a Tottenham fan. I would love to see Arsenal lose this because then it'll shut them up. They've had a great week. But so if I'm not mistaken, Mbappe is suspended for the La Liga season. He had a terrible red card foul against Alaves. That really, if you want to see a terrible foul, go watch it. He almost broke this guy's leg for no reason.
I haven't seen it. Yeah.
So I think he will be suspended for the game against Barcelona in the league upcoming, but he will not be suspended for the Champions League quarterfinal this week. I believe that is correct.
Arsenal, which it was not the case, but
Yes.
there you have it. Soccer history yesterday, how you probably saw Inter Miami played Chicago Fire in a sold out Soldier / NFL field.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts? This is history. This is like Pele packing out the Giant Stadium.
It really is. And I think there's so many interesting sort of facets of this game. Number one, the Chicago Fire, who have been absolutely terrible, won the game, and they are coached by Greg Berhalter.
Wow. I've heard that name before.
Yes, and apparently he's got this team playing very well. I haven't seen them. I can't speak to it, but a huge win for him. I mean, the only thing that could possibly be better for Greg Berhalter is Claudio Reyna, ending up back in MLS because no one wants him. So that was interesting to me. But there's a very interesting situation going on that I talk about in my upcoming book involving an outfit called Relevant Sports, which is a company owned by the guy Ross, who owns Joe Robbie Stadium, the Hard Rock.
Which they're buying the UCL rights.
Exactly. Well, they do. They've been bidding on those, but they've also been talking to La Liga about staging regular season La Liga matches in Miami. And the Mexican League loves this idea as well. And it was illegal as far as FIFA and the U.S. Soccer Federation were concerned.
Because they went to court for that. Yeah.
Sorry?
They went to court for that, right? Or something?
Exactly. And the court basically found for Relevant Sports that was illegal restraint of trade. Wow. So starting this fall, I think we're going to see regular season games from foreign leagues in the United States. I bring this up because, this is what Messi is about. I mean, the United States soccer market now is just a massive ATM for, any game that involves Messi. They get 70,000 no matter where the game is being played. They've got the Club World Cup coming here for the same reason. They expect big crowds for that. The World Cup is coming in 2026. And now you have the idea of the Mexican League, the Bundesliga, and the Spanish La Liga coming and playing regular season games here. Life is going to get really good for soccer fans in this country. The only people that I guess would suffer would be MLS. I mean, MLS is now competing against La Liga in the United States. That's tough.
Robert does not like that.
I've written, and people who get my book, Sibling Rivalry, to be published by Bloomsbury, January 2026. The Leagues Cup is really about Liga MX and MLS sort of joining forces to create an international, product that they feel can compete with La Liga, with the Premiership, and that. But
it's not panning out.
Well, no, I think that they are stronger because of that relationship. But can they compete with Man City against Liverpool in Giant Stadium in a real game? I mean, they'll get 80,000 people for that. It'll be crazy.
Before we go, I should have booked you for 1 hour, but the group schedule for Gold Cup came out last week. Your thoughts? USA is grouped with Trinidad, Tobago, Saudi Arabia, and Haiti. Your thoughts over this group stage for CONCACAF Gold Cup?
It's fine. Saudi Arabia is not a bad team.
They're good. Yeah.
They should go through quite easily. But I think the more important point that I saw written about the Gold Cup is that Pochettino will be bringing a first team to that tournament.
Right.
We talked about this, I think, the last time we were on. Will
It's a
they?
must.
Won't they? They have to. I mean, after the last tournament went so badly, the last two, they need games as a group, and we're going to see the best that the USMNT has to offer, and hopefully that will be enough to get them to the final against Mexico, hopefully, and that'll be a good test. But Mexico is not the test that the Copa America should have been last year. They need some other games, and they're not going to get anything but friendlies between now and the World Cup. So, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, and I think we have to get over the hump with Panama. I mean, they are our new Ghana right now.
Oh well, yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's good. They're not our new nemesis. They're not our arch rival, but yeah, they keep showing up and teaching us lessons that we don't want to be taught. And but to be fair, Ghana was good, and Panama's good.
Yeah.
They're I think qualifying for CONCACAF got to begin pretty soon here, and
right.
you and I have talked about this. I predict they'll win that qualifying going away. I think they're far and away the third best team in the region. Oh, the fourth,
by far. Yeah,
Canada
we're better than Jamaica and Costa Rica. Yeah, those. Great team. Total respect. And yeah, we'll see what happens. By the way, that Ghana squad that we were struggling with had full stars. They were like Premier League players and in Germany and parts of Spain, but quite something. Well, there you have it. How you gave us an update about your book before the show. Tell us, when can we see this book? Because I heard it's going to go to the printing press soon.
It's going to the publisher, Bloomsbury of London, on May 15, and people will be able to order it in January 2026. I don't have a special date yet. I will.
The timing for the World Cup, perfect.
That's right. But once this book has been written and it's very close, people can. I will start to be writing. I will start to write about the book process and all the stuff that I uncovered in the process, and they'll be able to read it at gen0.halphillips.net, which is my website for the first book and this book too. And also that's my handle, gen0.halphillips at Threads. And I think I'm going to join Blue Sky. Santi, are you on Blue Sky?
I'm not on Blue Sky. Well, actually, yes, I am, but I haven't posted.
Yeah, me too. I haven't done it yet, but again, all that is for after the manuscript is with the publisher, and it ain't yet. I got a month left.
Looking forward to a USA versus Mexico. So looking forward to that book, the rivalry that will be forever then and now. So
sibling rivalry.
Well, there you have it. You can reach gen0.halphillips.net. You can reach us at thesportscast.net, which is our website, or you could go to the Sportscast One X and IG. Hal, we had a full show.
Yes.
Bournemouth is up 1-0 against Fulham of Fulham. So we'll see what happens there. Hal, I appreciate you coming on to the Sportscast.
It's always my pleasure, Santi. Cheers.
Cheers.